What's wapa? She's got you running errands, picking up wedding dresses. Wapa!
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
You're now listening to Cutmaster Cast.
Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to another round of the Cutmaster Cast. This is episode number 62, and we've had a little hiatus, but we're back.
We're back, baby.
We're back. We're doing it. Mm-hmm. This is your go-to source for everything around the wedding industry. My name is Chris Romero.
And my name is Tony Pacheco. What's up, everybody?
And we are DJs out of Albuquerque, New Mexico with Cutmaster Music, bringing you the latest from our weekly events, must-know wedding tips and insider hacks, and typically, we take it back to the music. We're going to see where this goes today. I got a feeling this is going to be a little bit longer episode, so we might have to skip that part. It's going to be well worth it because we have brought back special guest Meredith Benvenuto of Meredith Keating Events. And welcome back. Welcome to the show.
Woo! Thank you. I am so excited to be back.
Yeah, we are glad to have you back because if I recall, last time we had you, and I don't remember what episode it was, I should have looked this up before, but when we had you on the first time, I think you were at around, like, what did you say, about a 2,000 follower count on the socials?
Just under 2,000.
And now you're at like a bazillion.
10,400. I don't know. It's gotten completely insane.
I know you just recently hit the 10,000 mark.
Yep, 10.4.
Which is...
That's great. That's
amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the word on the street is you've given up being a wedding planner and you're just going to be a social media influencer now. Is that right?
I hope not. That sounds terrible.
It's exhausting.
No, I would miss it. I'd miss it way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, congrats on that. That's so cool to just see the growth. Yeah. I mean, and I kind of felt like this was going to happen for you.
Did you?
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about how you had just moved here to Albuquerque recently and you're getting things kind of up and going and rolling. And I could just tell by it started, I feel like, with your posts on social media. Mm-hmm. And you were putting out just some really good information for couples out there. But then you started this Monday, what is Ask a Wedding?
Planner Monday.
Ask a Planner Monday. And that has just, I mean, right now on Ask a Planner Monday, what do you think is an average? How many questions do you think you get asked?
On an average Monday.
Probably between 250 and 300.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's wild. I think the first time I did it, I think I maybe got 20.
Wow.
So
which is still, I guarantee you,
right?
if I put out there Ask a DJ Monday right now, I would not get 20 people to ask a question. I bet like 3 of those would be Tony.
Yeah.
My wife might ask 5.
Asking our own questions.
Yeah, I would probably be the other 15.
People are desperate for information. They are desperate for really good, real information that isn't sugar-coated.
And they've got the phone, and so the access to the information, they're always searching for different answers or trying to find it. So if you can give it to them, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say your consistency is everything. That's really what is just always seeing you on, and those good, and it's quality too. Like that's where it is. Like it's not just pump and dump. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that's where it's not just content that you're just putting out, but it's actual quality information that people value, and it makes sense. So it's good.
It was a lot easier to do when wedding season wasn't in full swing.
Oh,
now that it's in full swing, I'm having to work a lot harder to stay consistent. So that just meant so much to me. That you
Are
said
you
that.
like sticking to a schedule? Are you planning this out? What's your strategy?
I try to do 2 a day. I try to do something funny and then something educational every single day. Even if it's just like a get ready with me, just something really simple, I try to have something educational. So no matter what, you always know. And then some people say on Mondays, they turn, the stories on Ask a Planner like a podcast. And they just listen to it, story after story after story. So I try to keep to that schedule. But it's definitely challenging, but I think it's worth it. And I think people need to be able to rely on that. They want that consistency. So
yeah, I know that even for my favorite podcasters or whatever, right? Like I watch one almost like every day now. I've been getting into it. It's like a random podcast, but I love it. And it's nice. Their consistency, them showing up every day, giving me whatever content they can come up with is nice. So that's really cool that you're doing that.
I love it. I think people are starting to, get to know me as a person and a glimpse into my life.
That's what I was going to say.
I always love that
I
too.
think like you're like this is a real person, right? Like people are asking these questions, and you're coming on in your true self in real form. And the running joke on it now is even the hubby's involved.
Yes,
All right.
everyone is in love with my husband, and I am
Hilarious.
only posting the most tame questions. People have asked
Oh, yeah.
the most inappropriate questions
Wow.
about my husband, but now my followers have all decided that he is their husband as well. So he's fine.
there you
with
go.
it.
That's right. He signed. He knows what he signed up
Yep.
for.
He did.
So no, it's super cool. But that's what I think too. I just you're really answering real questions, and that can really help you just take off. So yeah, congrats on that. It's
Thanks.
awesome. And actually, that's what we're gonna build pretty much today's episode around. And this is really geared toward the couples out there. So. Meredith and I had decided, a little while back, let's bring you back on the pod, but let's bring these questions that people are asking on Mondays. And then you even took it a step further, which was awesome, and asked like some DJ specific questions. So we're going to see how many of these that we can get through. But we, just as we did in the previous episode, we have given you your own segment here. All right. So let's get to it. And so that was actually the music before, but we've got some special music now for you.
We wanted to spice
All
it
right.
up.
So Meredith's Hot Takes now has her own music, peeps.
It's groovy.
That's right. Wait, it gets better.
Meredith's got the know-how. She's the best in town now. Wedding dreams come true. Wow, hot takes that'll make you bow.
Yeah.
That's our theme song, baby.
There you go.
Isn't that cool?
I love that so much. Is there a way to make that my ringtone?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm
possible.
obsessed.
That's totally possible.
I spent so much time on the instruments making that song and the voice, and to get my voice that high was,
I was just going to ask, who did that?
We were in the studio.
I thought maybe
singing.
it was your wife. That's so cool.
it was Tony.
It was
That's
us.
Tony's voice
Little music
when he's singing.
manipulation.
When he sings, that's really what he sounds like. He didn't want to admit it, but
I'm never surprised like that.
we're
I
outing him.
loved that so
That's awesome.
okay.
yeah. So we got Meredith's Hot Takes, peeps, and we're going to go through this. These are coming from her Monday, Ask a Planner Monday questions.
And are all of these DJ related?
No.
Oh, okay.
So actually, though, I picked like 10, it's like 9 or 10 that were just came off of your Monday. But then you sent me a list that were DJ related. So I think we'll kind of just bounce back and forth a little bit through these.
Cool.
And pick some, because there's a lot. I've got a total of 33 on here. There's a lot of them from you guys, so thank you so much for sending these in.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And let's just we're gonna rapid fire and go through these. We'll get through as many as we can and see where it takes us.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, the first one was that, and this was more just general, and we're gonna touch on some of this as we go through some of these, but I've noticed a theme of people coming in and just always asking you for ways to save.
Yes.
Just off the top of your head, what are like maybe a couple of ways that couples, when you are starting to plan, what are some ways that they can save some money?
Absolutely. All day long, the number one answer, the only answer that is going to create any significant impact in your budget is the one you don't want to hear.
Uh-oh.
And that is guest count.
Yep.
All
People.
day long. And it's disappointing because you want the answer to be DIY. You want the answer to be, well, if somebody helps with setup, or if we provide our own liquor. That's what everybody wants the answer to be. The answer is always going to come down to your guest count because it is exponential. So you have to think about feeding them, bar service. Every table needs a linen. Every linen needs forks. And on top of that table, you need to decorate. So that means an additional floral arrangement. So cutting 10 guests off your guest list or cutting 10 guests out of your guest count, always going to hit your budget.
That makes sense. It's a domino effect, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
And I know that that's the answer that nobody wants to hear, but you can have, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one, right? Because you have these people in your mind, and then you're like, all right, now I got to cut 10 people out. Like,
How do you do it?
Yeah, how do you do it? It's hard when you're planning. I like to think of like, for me, in my wedding planning process and the guest count, I'm trying to think of like, do these people impact our relationship in any way? Are they a part of our story? Because I've got family members who haven't even met my fiance.
That's number one.
You know?
Have you both met them?
Yeah.
Do you have an active text thread with them? And when you see their face on the day, what is the feeling that's going to crop up?
Great. See, that's what you need to think about when you're trying to nitpick or to kind of fine tune your wedding guest.
Yes.
Those are some really good kind of priorities to remember.
And your family's going to be frustrated.
Of course, it's going to happen.
Especially a New Mexican Hispanic family.
I'm worried
that
about it.
has third, fourth, fifth cousins that I call them the weddings and funerals family.
Yes.
You know, that's the only time you see them. And it's like, what? I'm going to be disowned from the family. And I don't even remember Tia Maria over here from, you know.
It's true.
Well, but are you going to have hurt feelings run your wedding? And that's always what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that.
Okay, so speaking of hurt feelings and Hispanics in New Mexico, we're just going there. Okay, so I thought this was a good question that came up this past week. The Catholic wedding gap.
Yes.
All right. So, what do you do with the Catholic when you're having a Catholic ceremony, which every church tells you we can only go until it has to be at 10 o'clock in the morning? You know, and we can't go past noon. That's it, you know.
And they won't kick you out.
Yeah.
Sure
No.
will.
And that's it. There's like only one time on one Saturday, and we're only available that 1 week, you know. And so what do you do with that time when you've got the 3, 4, 5 hour gap in between the ceremony and the reception?
The answer is nothing. You let your guests know, be very, very clear that there's going to be that gap, but realistically, unless your budget is extensive, you are not going to be able to entertain them for that 5 hour gap. So making it very clear that the gap exists is really the best you can do.
I think that's really what it is you got to set the expectations, right?
Yeah.
And they just have to know. And honestly, I think here in New Mexico, most people are used to it. We know.
It's very common.
We
They
know.
usually-
It's coming.
They'll take it as a break or, you know, but what was interesting is I had a wedding at Hotel Albuquerque where they had the chapel.
Yep.
They had about a 2-hour break. It was basically a 2-hour cocktail hour is what they did. They hired a mariachi for that first hour. We came in, and so it was kind of challenging. I would say if you do have the 4 hour, maybe lay out some options for like,
What to do, where
Yeah,
to go,
exactly.
absolutely. Things to do around town, for sure. You can always set them up for success that way.
But like, it's basically like throwing another party.
Yes, you just want to make sure that unless you have the budget to support it, you want to make sure they're off your budget during those hours.
Yeah, we just did it not too long ago. I attended a wedding, and we just hit a bar. We went.
There you go.
We were all,
That's what
we
most
went-
people do.
Yeah, right. We hit a fancy bar. We were all dressed up, so we're like, let's go to this one. We look like we belong in this bar.
Get
so-
some pictures.
Yeah, we did. We really did.
Nice. Okay. The invite list. I noticed this was another one. You had someone that was inviting 110 people, even though the venue had a capacity of only 100.
What is? Yeah.
What do we
Okay.
do there?
I am living this dream this Saturday. So the venue holds 160. She invited 225.
Oh my
she said
gosh.
absolutely not all of them are going to say yes. And I said, this makes me very nervous. Bruh. In a huge way, bruh.
That's quite the difference, though.
We're at 215. Yes.
From 160s the
correct.
cap.
So, and she wants me to make magic, but I mean, I can't bend space and time.
I was just going to say, you can't create more space.
No, I can't.
You know, like,
Unfortunately, we're going to look at standing room only, and guests are going to be extremely frustrated. It's something that you can't gamble with, and my recommendation is invite 160. As you start getting no's, hit that B list and hit them out as quickly as you can.
Right.
And it is frustrating. I understand that, but it's the only way to do it safely.
maybe, and that might speak to knowing, okay, we've got this list. That's probably one of the very first things that you should do, right, is figure out the list. We've got this list of, 260, and we can only fit this many. We need to get invites out ASAP. And basically, if we haven't heard from you by maybe a certain time, right, then you start hitting up the B list. Or as they start coming in, hopefully they come in soon, like the no's, right?
They
and then you
won't,
can
but
start.
yeah,
I know.
probably.
That's exactly, and I guess that's the biggest worry is that, and that's what happens. Nobody RSVPs until way close to the wedding, which because they want to figure out, are we even going to be available or whatnot?
Yeah.
And there's some that don't RSVP at all. Yeah.
That's a thing out here.
Yeah.
It is.
That was not a thing where I'm from.
Have you seen that meme where it wasn't a meme? I think it was somebody that took a picture and they had, the tables, the table chart, and then the one table for I did not RSVP.
Oh wow, that's funny.
My goodness.
That's a good way to do
I'm
it.
always shocked when people do that. I think it's very interesting to just show up without RSVP, but the answer to that is you have to call people. You can't email, you can't text, you need to call people and
You
get
coming
that
or not?
answer.
You got to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Okay, so here's another one that was this past week.
I do have a question. I kind of want to
Wait, what?
I'm sorry.
I'm moving on. Go ahead.
What about like how do you feel about inviting people to the dance party? Not dinner.
I'm okay with it. And the reason being is because the people that you're going to invite to the dance party are the people who want to come to the dance party
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
You're
right.
not inviting your Aunt Mildred. You know, you're going to be inviting the people that are going to make that party amazing who are not going to be offended by that anyway. So I think that is totally fine.
So I'm glad you brought that up because we actually had a wedding. This was last summer, I believe, and it was at the convention center. And they had the close family and friends, and it was in a different room. And then they had the party that started at this time.
Okay.
And now this is what made things interesting, though. So things ran late
For
in
dinner.
the other room,
Yeah.
and then people started arriving for the
Early.
party, and in this gigantic room,
Yeah.
and there was like, it felt super empty, and honestly they were like 45 minutes like late coming into there, so there was this kind of like
Interesting.
gap, and it was a
like that.
weird awkward gap from dinner, and then all of a sudden it was like this flood of people, right? So
Something to think about.
yep,
Options, good, bad of every option.
Hire the planner so you're not running late.
There you go.
they did not have a planner.
I know
so,
they didn't.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Photo blitz pictures.
Oh my gosh.
So this is where it's. So we'll talk about the options, right? You could do, but this is where basically we say, okay, the DJ is going to play a song, and the couple's going to run around to every single table and grab a picture with you, right?
Yes. I actually just went over this with Maura Jane from Maura Jane
yeah.
Photographer, who's darling.
Love Mara.
Yes. And she and I have come up with the best of the worst. So the worst, in my opinion, is the photo dash. So photo dash means you run to each table, get a really quick picture, and then go.
Right.
If you've ever looked at these pictures, they're awful.
Okay.
Everybody is so harried and their faces are really shocked and everybody just looks like,
And by table 20, the couple is just like running out of breath.
Completely
They're like
over it.
forcing it.
Yes, but the reason people are doing that is because we don't do receiving lines anymore. So receiving lines are where you stand still and people come through
Right.
the line
Yeah.
to you, but now people want to take pictures and it takes forever. So I think the best of the worst is to have you stay seated and to have guests come behind you and take pictures. Now, the caveat is the only way for this to work is to have a planner there to keep it moving because guests are not going to be able to take a quick picture and go. They need a hug. They need love. They need to tell you how
Right.
beautiful you are. So you do need that bad guy to keep it going. But the best idea of the worst idea is to stay seated and to have guests come behind you and take those pictures. And even those pictures, I guarantee you they're not going to wind up on your mantle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I promise you they're not.
You know what we did, and that's exactly how we did it. The only time that I've ever done it was like, okay, middle of the dance floor, chairs with a couple, and then we actually had like an area staged off to the side, which is like the what do they call it when you're on deck, right?
Yeah.
So
There you go.
table 9 on deck, and table 8 is you're up, right? And so that way they're kind of there and ready to go. But yeah, that's I mean, I guess you could get kind of cute with that if maybe you wanted to do like. This is how you release tables. I mean, that could be a way of
To the
doing
buffet,
right
yeah,
to the buffet. It's doing something like that. But you're right. Like it's just kind of it's really hurried pictures. Why do it? What's kind of the
Hopefully
purpose?
it's a trend that'll just start to lose momentum, but I don't know.
Well, I think it's a bunch of parents who are insistent that you engage with every single person at the wedding.
Yeah. Right.
And this is a way to honor the parents without doing a receiving line, which in reality, you just need a bad guy to explain to the parents why they're both bad ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This was an interesting question. What is something that is the biggest waste of money?
Oh, this is a great one. I would say probably expensive favors. So the little gifts that you give people on the way out, most of them get left. This is not a popular one. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Dumping a ton of money into floral.
Yeah.
Think back right now, every single wedding that you've ever been to. Remember the flowers.
I mean, they all kind of
I don't remember the
blends.
flowers at my
Sure.
You
wedding.
know what I mean?
Right.
I'll compliment them because when they
beautiful.
stand out, and it can be like, oh wow, I love this color combination.
Sure.
But at the end of the night, take them home, please take them home. We
They're
paid so
gonna-
much money for these.
Yes.
Take 'em.
So, I mean, I think, we're seeing quotes now for floral, $18,000, $20,000. So I feel like there's a lot of ways to do floral that's a little bit easier on the wallet. There's an incredible company right now that does faux floral rentals strictly for weddings called Something Borrowed Blooms. That's amazing. That's a really good option. But I think biggest waste of money, party buses.
Really?
Yeah, in between ceremony and reception.
Why?
Because you're going to drop a ton of money on it. In reality, you're not going to enjoy that time anyway because it's a little harried. So I think just regular transportation is fine anyway because things are going to happen. You're going to need to stay behind. You're going to need to go. It's just a little bit, just get a giant Uber. I just think, because when you see the quotes back from these party buses, you're going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it makes sense. I get they're honing in on that kind of market, and they know if you need it for that hour, and you're gonna have to book us out for the whole day or whatever.
Exactly.
So I get that.
And back to the florals, I think what you're trying to say, it's like not to have flowers and florals.
No.
It's but there's ways to be cost friendly about it. You're right, because
Sure.
Is there a way to like DIY flowers
No.
as well as not at all?
Never.
So what I mean is there a way to like supply floral and then them handle it?
Oh, there's a way.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to talk to me about DIY floral, my question is always going to be refrigeration. Do you actually have an entire room that's refrigerated that you can store these flowers?
Dedicated to that
You-
for at least like a week or so?
Oh, a couple days leading up. And do you really want to spend the few days before your wedding absolutely panicked doing something you have never done before? So ask your florist how to make it work. What I'm talking about is like these massive floral arches.
Right.
And
Yeah.
these huge centerpieces, when in reality you could make something incredibly striking and beautiful on a smaller budget.
Nice.
honestly, I'm shocked at some of the ones. So Emily Calhoun with Floriography comes to mind. And how much she is able to do sometimes with like what
little.
with like I mean, some of her, I think, greatest, like, what do you call them, like floral scapes basically have been like so like on, I don't want to call it minimalistic, but it's just like it seems like so much with so little, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like she's got like a knack, an eye for
They're artists.
yeah, like for making things pop, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, and with fruit and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
I was like really impressive. Like,
Well, I'm noticing their value is the quick turnaround, is what you're saying,
Yes.
right? So you get an order, it's all good and dandy, but you have to do it that week.
Right.
There's not a lot of prep. You can't like do the flowers a month in advance and then just
No.
let them sit there.
Well, then you're going to walk back into your house and it's going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have so much stems. And
Oh, yeah.
I've never once seen it gone well, and I've never seen it done without tears.
Okay.
all right, there you
love
go.
it.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one because I've got a story that happened this past week.
Oh.
What you got?
But the tips for keeping the card box safe.
I have had it stolen before.
Oh, so I just had it stolen this past week.
You did not.
Yeah, it happened.
That's crazy.
End of the night.
Sorry.
The couple is. I mean, we just went out with a bang. We're fist pumping. I mean,
It's a good party. You're
it was
having a time,
it was
but-
awesome, and then it's this mad scramble for finding the card box, the card
Oh,
box.
it's a horrible way
And
to
they were
end.
talking about. I mean, we're tearing down stuff, right? And so I'm overhearing them.
Yeah.
They were talking about how they estimated around $10,000 or more in there, and it was like, oh my god.
Heartbreaking. And I've had it happen multiple times. And the answer is, as soon as the cards have all been dropped into the box, we've already talked about this with my couples, I grab a bridesmaid, mother of the bride, somebody to come with me because I want you to see me lock this up. And it's going to stay locked up all night because it absolutely happens.
Yeah.
And every time that it's happened historically for me, it was from temp catering staff. So these caterers, they can't employ staff all week long. So they're bringing in temp staff that they may not know that person inside and out. And
They hired them that
This
week.
is what got me, and I still can't figure it out. I meant to reach out to the couple this week to see if that had been resolved, but this was not. I've seen it happen, and typically it's like in a hotel where there's multiple events going on, or like a
Exactly.
convention center, or something like that, or like the casino. I know.
More open to the public.
Right, but this was not. This was like a place that was on its own, so you know it has to be somebody that was either there at the wedding or it's the staff. That's all there. That's all it could have been.
heartbreaking.
They've got to have security cameras or something, right? You think?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so
Please tell them I'm so sorry.
I know, right? It's like,
Heartbreaker. But that's something you can do without a planner. That's something
Is there?
that you can
So you want to make sure you're locking that thing up maybe
I-
after dinner?
Yes, and I
Or
want it
before
in
dinner
a
starts?
trunk,
Yeah.
not in a car with windows. I want it in a trunk. I want
Yeah.
it locked away.
Okay.
Oftentimes I'll take it to the honeymoon suite at a place like Blame Her Ranch. They have their own safe. So I get everything in there. Everything is locked up tight.
So yeah, maybe designating somebody to, like, you have to be in charge of these cards.
Yes.
And as soon as dinner begins, we can do a final call or something. Maybe ask the DJ or something. I don't know. But make sure we're getting them all, and then
That's it.
take it somewhere
Lock 'em
safe.
up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't forget about it.
No.
all right. This was an interesting one, and actually we talked about this on a previous episode. But toxic relatives showing up and making a scene.
Yes.
That was an interesting one.
They will.
Nice.
They
Oh, yeah.
absolutely
Yeah, they will.
And
That's why they're called toxic.
I cannot even tell you. And the answer to that is, unfortunately, hiring an independent security staff. And it can only be for the ceremony, or it can only be for the reception, whatever you're concerned about. But people are not able to resist it. And anytime somebody has said, "Oh, I'm really worried somebody's going to show up," they do. Very usually. So hiring it, and it can be off-duty police officers. Like, you don't have to dump a ton of money into this, but that's the answer.
Nice. Okay.
All right. We are going to dive into the questions that you gave us. That a lot of these are more DJ and music related.
Nice.
Right.
So let's see what we've got. So this was an interesting one. How to mix the preppy style of my in-laws with my Caribbean energy.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that one. That was good. So I think this is where,
They're like reggae fans, but
well, I mean, it sounds like she likes, Caribbean music, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
this can really be for anything. Maybe you like a certain genre.
Sure.
That this is like my style, right? And actually, so this I'm gonna combine these two questions, because there was another one here that said, let me find it real quick. Basically, she said all she wanted was Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Swift. That's all I want at my wedding, right? And so we'll kind of combine these into
Yeah.
two. This is, I think, number one, we're having a great DJ comes into play, right? So they know how to mix different genres and keep the party flowing and keep people on the dance floor and do a little bit of everything. Now, I think if you're going to limit your DJ, like let's just take the Taylor Swift example and only play T Swift, well, then you need to ask yourself, what are your goals for your event? If you want people to stay and have a great time, then you need a great DJ that can read your group, read your crowd, cater to those, figure out how to mix in the Caribbean with the country, with the T Swift, with whatever, line dancing and all that. But if you are going to go one genre, just be ready for a lot of people to probably leave your event early.
Correct.
And that's all there is to it. Not everybody,
not everyone's Taylor fan.
unless you're throwing a T Swift party.
Yeah. I mean, so I just recently DJ'd a Taylor Swift night, right?
Okay.
All of these ladies were massive Taylor Swift fans. Anytime I've done something like that,
Yeah.
they're there and they own it. They love it. It's
And
so
they
much
know
fun.
what they're
They
going.
know what they're getting into. Yes. When you go to a wedding, private event,
You expect.
you expect a little bit more or something different, right?
Yeah.
You didn't go to a Taylor Swift party. You see a DJ and they usually don't stick to one artist,
No.
not unless it's like, I don't know, I've never seen that at a private event.
Yeah.
Well, I had a wedding recently that she was a huge Taylor Swift fan. She said, "I want to do a Taylor Swift power hour." And I said, "I
Okay.
hear you.
Yeah.
What about a Taylor Swift 30-minute power hour?" And she said, "I'm in."
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was enough for her. And it was, it was enough to keep the night.
And I think when you have
like that,
a really good DJ, and I like how you put that, because honestly, an hour of T Swift, you're going to lose a lot of people. So why not have a DJ that can do a Taylor Swift set where they're mixing literally. I'm going to play, you're going to hear 15 T Swift songs in 10 minutes.
I love it.
Where verse and chorus in and out, and it's like
Mashup,
flowing.
Power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so we do that a lot. Like right now, I feel like, our couples, typically in your mid 20s, are really loving the pop punk stuff. So the Fall Out Boy, Blink 182, Mr. Brightside. But nobody wants to hear 5, 6, 7 minutes of Fall Out Boy, Blink 182.
It's old.
But you
But
get
they-
verse and chorus in and out, and it's like, it's the oh my God part of the night. Like nostalgia, they're screaming, and then we got our 10 minutes of little alternative, pop punk stuff, and then we're on into something else.
Moving to something.
But this is what sets you guys apart. No one else is doing this.
Yeah.
This is what sets you apart.
It's so frustrating that.
Well, it is,
Like,
and
come on.
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get my wedding last weekend at some point here, because
Nice.
goodness gracious. But let's go
Right.
to the next one.
I know. We're going to find a way to tie that in because I completely skipped over the part where we talk about our events. I just got so excited about this list that we got. But,
Well, maybe at the end of our questions, we can come back and talk about our previous events.
yeah, but I have a feeling it's going to work in
Yeah,
to
Oh, I think
some of
it
these
is.
that we have here. All
But
right.
I think you're right. Being able, you got to find somebody who can blend. And I guess, so how to mix the preppy style with the in-laws. If you don't have a good DJ, maybe supplying them with the correct songs that you think would work. I think it's really hard when you try to give them an exact order and say, play these songs start to finish. And it just doesn't work that way. So just conveying that this is what you want. You want to make sure everybody's having a good time on the dance floor and making, but it's
The
a
answer
tricky
is
thing.
invest in a DJ.
Yeah,
That's the
Right.
answer.
And these are going to be questions, and we'll get into some of this too, that you're going to need to ask when you're interviewing DJs. Are you able to do this? I have my in-laws really like this. And I'm not sure what she means by preppy style, but
Just two different genres of music
Right.
that normally clash. How do we make them work?
How do you make it
right?
work?
And it's mashups,
Mashups.
mixing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing when you're able to deliver like a Lavender Haze, Taylor Swift, with
Sure.
like Lean On, Major Lazer, and you
I
put
love
them
it.
over, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is sick."
What is this?
Yeah, but they know the song.
But this is the answer. So when I show my couples two DJ quotes, one is significantly less than the other,
Yeah,
and you
right.
say, why this
Yeah.
right here? What we just talked about is why. But we're going to get there.
Yep.
Go right on back.
Okay, the next one was bride and groom wants to build their own playlist and not have a DJ. Thoughts?
Well, and I okay. So first of all, who is amplifying your ceremony?
Right?
Who is playing any of your ceremony? Oh, we're just gonna have an iPod and you just push a no, ma'am. I'm not pushing any buttons.
Yeah.
And you don't want anybody else doing it either, because I've never seen it work out. So if you just
When they play the song that's on YouTube that you wanted,
The ad
and
first.
the YouTube ad for Viagra comes on,
I can't. I can't.
Hilarious. Blue Chew ad.
The worst. The answer is the DJ isn't just there to provide your music.
Right.
The DJ is also there to pace your day, to help your guests understand what's happening next. There is nobody I work more closely with on the day than the DJ.
So true.
And it is now in my contract that I do not do weddings anymore with playlists. Because
yeah, I mean it's and who's going to make all your announcements? And when something pops up that people need to know, I mean, how many times have we had basic stuff? We just found some car keys. We found somebody's glasses or whatever,
Somebody
right?
lost their phone or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Like
Or can you announce for them to go to the buffet this way instead of that way? We have to change, like live pivots.
Yes.
Real announcements.
Yep.
they pace your day.
Yeah.
It is so much more than music. I will beg you not to do that.
And
is
then-
my answer.
So
to
here's
that.
so here's the thing. You're gonna do a playlist. Let's just say your open dancing is 20 songs, or I meant 20. Sorry,
2 hours?
is 2 hours. That's gonna be roughly about 20 or so songs, right? Like that. From if you're playing,
front-
if
Yeah,
you're gonna
from
play
front
front
to back.
music from front to back. That's
Right.
what your playlist is gonna
not
do.
wrong.
It's gonna play music from front to back. But in a 2 hour set, I can get through 100 tracks.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm
Right.
playing verse and chorus, I'm mixing, I'm quick
mixing,
mixing and
yeah.
stuff, I mean, that's
It's a different experience.
Well, the idea too is a playlist can't read a crowd.
Absolutely.
You have the best playlist that looks amazing on paper, and then you have a live, you know what I mean? You practice and it's all set up and it's so good, and then day of nobody responds to it.
Well, and here I think this is, oh gosh, this is so important. I'm glad I remembered to say this. On that day, when your audio fails,
Oh yeah.
who's here to fix it? Because I don't do tech. So who's here to fix it? And you're going to say, of course it's going to work. It's going to be totally fine. I've got these amazing speakers. It's going to be great. And if it's not,
And then it fails.
and then it fails. Correct.
Yeah. You know, we've had things like that in the past where we just have things in place to prepare and we understand all of these things and do prep work weekdays in to make sure all of our stuff is up to date, good to go, no software updates when you're turning it on or something silly like that. You know what I mean? You open up your computer and you're good versus like somebody who's like, oh, sorry, software update, give me 5 minutes. And you're like, what?
You're really going to roll the dice with one of the biggest
Yeah,
days of your life.
exactly. This
Yeah,
is-
I mean it's a
it's a
one
Super
time.
Bowl.
It's that's right. One time
say it
deal.
every time. No room for error.
Yep. Okay, so this is a good one. Bride and groom want to perform guitar and sing a song at their wedding.
Okay.
Love it.
Thoughts? Love it.
I love it.
Yes.
We did it
totally.
last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so personal. And I'll tell you, my bride, who is hands down one of the sweetest brides I've ever had, she wanted to sing a song to her mom, and she was so nervous that her voice was going to break and it wasn't going to be perfect. And it was, I mean, the photographer and I were literally holding each other crying. It was so beautiful. And if that's in your heart, do it.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that you can do to make your wedding unique and make it you, whatever that might be. This is like things like this. So we did an event, a wedding like 2 weeks ago where the best man and maid of honor, they're married, they did exactly this.
Yeah.
They sang and did a guitar. They plugged into our system, and actually they had a keyboard player as well. It was amazing.
I love
Not
it.
only, I mean, so sometimes I get a little worried with singers because you know it can be like maybe that wasn't a good idea. In this case, oh my gosh, like sounded amazing.
Yeah.
They were great on the instruments. Like it was super impressive. Like
awesome.
and what a moment.
It's the things people remember. It's the things when you think back on that wedding 10 years from now, that's what you'll remember.
Those unique things that stand out, not a cake cutting that we see every single wedding, but remember when he sang to you or whatever? Yeah. So I'd say just
Exactly.
reach out to your DJs, whoever's running your sound, and ask them what they need from you.
Right.
You know, and then
For sure.
if they know what they're doing, they should give you the right thing.
If they know what they're doing.
Right.
That's correct.
Yes. Yep.
But we always welcome it. Like a big one for us too is like my buddy plays the guitar and he wants to play the music for while the guests walk in. Is that
love
cool?
that.
Of course.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Have him reach out and we'll figure out what he needs. But I love that personal. It's a cool way for guests or like friends to give a gift as well. Their talent.
Are we allowed to just do weddings together for the end of time? Is
That'd be pretty
okay?
cool.
Okay, great.
That'd be nice.
We're just in case you all didn't know out there, if you book Cutmaster, you now get Meredith.
It's
That's-
buy one,
it's-
get one.
That's
Buy one, get one. I love it.
It's a package deal. Okay, so this one interesting. Half our guests speak Spanish, and our prospective DJ only speaks English. Should we keep looking?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and so I want to say is, well, if that matters to you, which it sounds like, yeah, that you know,
If a good majority of your guests can't understand what's happening, you can't even orchestrate them to like move around.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I know that when we've done it in the past, I've worked with a translator. I've had somebody who was there, but even then, it's so challenging for me to deliver my grand entrance. Let's give it for Jackie and Jill's wedding day, and then you got to wait for the translator to
Right.
come. And then it's like a half. It's so much more fluid to have somebody
Yeah.
who can speak Spanish
And go right into
and
it.
go right into it. It just works out way better. If they're looking for that, I push them to another DJ just because I can't provide that.
Yeah.
And that's okay, you know. But
the only thing is where it can get tough is like if you really like, let's just say you Zia, right?
Yeah.
They love the way you DJ. You have to be our DJ at our
Yep.
wedding. You know, so then there's gonna be some compromise. Either we got to find somebody that can translate, like the really important announcements for you,
Yep.
or you know, I think like you said, you might have to find somebody else. Yeah, because
I mean, I've done it. They wanted me to DJ. I
Yeah.
don't speak Spanish, and we found a translator, and it worked.
But it was worth it for them to
Yeah,
have you.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I think they found more value in that, but they wanted to make sure a lot of their guests knew what was going on when we
Right.
went into.
So
the
we've
first
done
night.
that. I mean, you know, Bao, who's a part of our company, we've done a few Vietnamese weddings,
Oh, wow.
right? And so typically, though, they have somebody in the family that almost acts as the MC.
Yeah.
And so they do a lot of that work. And we just work it out beforehand.
Yeah.
This is something going into it. We know expectations. Here's like some of the announcements, the big major announcements and things like that. And we try to work it out as best we can because, they want they wanted us to be the DJs.
They want the service, but there's a language barrier.
Right.
So just something you kind of have to work around.
Yeah, something to consider.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's challenging for sure. Yeah,
Okay, so-
Spanish is a big one.
Here's an interesting one. Is it weird to ask guests to join us during the father-daughter, mother-son dance?
No, I don't think it's weird, but I think you need to be extremely clear because that's not necessarily typical.
Yeah.
So I think you need to be extremely clear, and this is where a wedding planner can come in handy, where you can kind of gently guide people onto the floor.
I agree with that because I'll usually have this conversation because we've done this a few times, or it's been asked of us a few times. We want people to join us, and so I usually make it clear during some form of an announcement, right? Like at this time, so and so and his mother would really enjoy it if you would all join them for this dance, right? So it makes it clear that they want you to come out because otherwise people they don't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
You're out there by yourself. It feels weird. It's awkward, and they don't want to interrupt you.
Sure.
Yeah, it's
So-
a big moment. Nobody wants to step on their.
Sure.
And to go even a step beyond that, I might ask you to, go grabbing people to come out.
That's usually what it means, and letting your wedding party know that this is really important to me, that dance floor is full at that time.
Yeah.
So if it's not filling, I need you to move
Yeah,
bodies.
having those people kind of plugged to flash mob
Yep,
almost.
exactly.
What I love about this is it's an excellent way to transition into open dance. You do it
I
for
agree.
your final one.
Yes.
Whether it's parent dances first and then first dance, and then the group, the wedding guests join the
Totally
couple,
agree.
and then you go into something awesome. Boom, they're on the dance floor. You
Everybody's
hit
already
it,
there.
right? Or you could do it with the parents as well.
Sure.
One thing I think was interesting was can you invite all the fathers and the daughters to the dance floor during the
Oh,
father-daughter dance? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot.
I was
I was
going to
gonna
say,
say, I
how
think
many
it might
fathers
not
and
be-
daughters are
Yeah.
So
No.
that was a unique thing, but I've always been a big proponent of this because it's an excellent tool to get people on the dance floor.
I agree.
And kickstart your.
Oh, you know what?
party.
This actually reminds me. I'm so glad I remembered this. So I was doing a consult call recently. So I do virtual consults for all over the world.
Nice.
To be able to help set up people. And she had said that she hired this DJ that she loves. She's really excited. And he does this very specific thing that he says everybody loves. It makes the entire day amazing. I have never heard this, and I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Okay.
So, bride and groom do grand entrance straight into first dance, which I love.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of that. Straight into a 15-minute dance party, and then we sit down for dinner.
So
Where-
this is very East Coast.
I was going to.
They
That was my
are-
question.
I've
Where are
never
they?
done it.
Where's it happening? Oh yeah, you're from these guys.
I never.
So
been
this
out.
is I hear Mike Walter, who is Elite Entertainment out in Jersey. This is a very, very Jersey thing right now.
That's so funny.
They're all doing a set, and it's 15 minutes
3 songs.
before dinner.
Why?
And so Jason Janai just posted his latest wedding.
I just did it
They
2 weeks
like
ago.
it?
Yeah, loved it. We loved it. I loved it.
Really?
It was so
That's
fun.
so
You really get awesome open dance photos that you may not get because
Oh, I didn't think about that.
yeah, they were packed and it was bumping and it was just really really good momentum to just start the night. And we hit them with heavy hitters: September, Mamma Mia, and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
And then call it.
Yeah, and then it's weird because you're at such a high and then you bring it right back down. But it was awesome.
This is what I love. I love to be convinced. When I go into something, I'm like, I don't like this idea. I love to be convinced, and I don't know how. I've missed this entirely, but
Yeah,
you've
I
convinced me.
haven't done it personally yet, but
That was one of the first times I've done it. They were from the East Coast, and it was an interesting layout, but I loved it. We had it planned.
Okay.
We invited everybody up, and it really was fun because you had grandma out there. There was this expectation of like, if I'm going to dance, this is maybe the
is
only
the time to do it.
Yeah. And
You've changed my mind.
Versus the open dance,
Yep.
they're like, I'll go dance when I want to. Versus it was just so great, and the dance floor was packed. I can show you some pics. And
I'm going
video.
to email this bride and tell her I was wrong. I like it.
It's cool. It's a
Yeah.
cool idea. I think it's a great way to start positive momentum to the day.
Okay.
I've been interested to see how it works because
Yeah.
you kind of get stuck in. I guess it's just
The traditional kind of
way and flow, and I've never done it, but I've seen my buddies doing it out on the East Coast. It's a all the time now.
See
That's
it on
like
these
almost expected out there that this is.
I'm very surprised to hear that you hadn't heard of it.
Well, I had a little break in there, so I think it's
Sure.
probably newer. But yeah,
I feel like it's newer.
Yeah.
They've just really in the last couple of years been talking about this.
I must have just missed
the
it.
set before dinner.
Okay, all right. Well, good.
Or like some country. You know, those you want to get those out of the way. Give them.
We're gonna get into that story later. We're gonna get in that story, Tony.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, so next one here: how to interview to choose a DJ. So that's a whole podcast episode in and of itself,
Yeah.
which you can find in between episodes 58 and 59 with Wedding Tips with Chris, which I tackle this topic head on. What questions to ask your DJ and interview. And if you go back and listen to some of the other episodes, Tony and I have talked a lot about that too. Like, what are some
Things you
things
should be
you
asking?
should be looking out for? But let's just say,
Let's dive into it. What are some?
let's ask Meredith. When they're because they're going to you.
Sure.
What should I ask my DJ as I'm interviewing them? Are there things that come to mind?
Yeah, so I typically sit in on those interviews to kind of help guide the process along. My number one thing, first off, is the communication early on, speedy replies, professional replies, because this is the early stuff is as good as it's going to get. So if they're taking 2.5 weeks to reply to you, in my mind, that's already a no.
Yeah.
So you want to start there. And I'm a big believer, and it sounds trite, I'm a big believer in vibes. I believe in sitting down with somebody, looking them in the eye, and seeing how they engage with you, because that's how they're going to be on the day. And if something feels off, even if you don't know what it is, I say move on. But more to the actual day, I usually like to ask, how do you handle really persistent guests who have, requests that are just not the vibe? How do you handle, have you worked at my venue before? How do you feel about the load in, load out? What do you think about how long I'm going to be dancing? I usually try to get the DJ to talk as much as possible so that we can kind of establish those vibes.
Yeah.
I love that, because I think that's really what we're all about too when we are sitting across the table. It's like, it needs to be a good fit. Right. And that's the only way. Like, do we vibe? Are we like seeing eye to eye on some of this stuff, and DJs are not all cut from the same cloth, and it's kind of the same thing I would say with photographers as well. You got to find somebody you're vibing with, that sees your vision, that understands you, that gets it, whatever it is for you. Do you like the quick mixing? Do you not? Do you want, and
Longer songs, line dances.
Yeah.
Do not want line dances,
so those are all.
The answer is vibes for me on that one.
Yeah. Well, you get it. You can definitely get an energy through a meeting. And if it's not right, totally fine to say, you know what, this isn't the right fit.
Yes.
Let's just push on to another DJ or something else.
Sure.
Right. Okay. I dig it. Our DJ will not be at rehearsal. Best way to communicate song start and end. So I would say for this, and this is actually a really good question for us, because Tony and I do things a little bit different. Like Tony's at almost every rehearsal.
If I can be at a rehearsal, I'll be there.
And I'm not.
Okay.
So I don't go to not that I can't or don't want to. If you want me there, I'm gonna charge you a little bit for my time, because you're probably taking away my Friday night from the family, right?
Yeah.
So that means something a little bit to me. But for me, when it comes to the ceremony, this is the way I really view my role. And this is the way it is, I would say 99% of the time. I am pressing play when you're ready to go walk down the aisle. I'm going to fade out, and then I'm going to press play for your song as the bride. That's really it. So the thing is I can't, and I don't think any couple would feel comfortable not having spoke with their DJ prior. So you talked about this in the question, what's the best way to communicate? Well, it's to communicate. And so I have a final event review the week of the wedding, and we go walk through every single thing, step by step, including the ceremony. And I have them walk me through, okay, so we're playing music, a half hour prior to your start time. So your guests, got background music going. What happens at start? Does the officiant come out? Are they walking down the aisle? Are they already there? Okay, so the officiant is going to walk down. Once the officiant gets up there, I'll fade out, and then I'll hit the music for your wedding party to start walking.
Perfect.
When your wedding party gets to the end, I'll fade out of the song. If the flower girl or ring bearer start taking a detour and it happens,
It does.
don't worry. I'm going to have a little section to loop back to, and I'll loop that
And extend
as
it.
I'll extend the song as we need to, and then I'll fade out once I see that they're ready to go. Then I'll hit play for yours to walk down, and when I see you're up there, we'll fade out.
Yeah.
Sure. I love that. And the only thing I would add to that is I also bring walkie-talkies. And if it's a situation where I have doors closed on the bride, or if we are
You're
out
way
of
over
sight,
there, yeah.
because I tell my brides the music does not cue you when to go. You tell me when you're ready to go, because I will not rush my brides. So if that means her taking her slow breaths, I have them all take 3 really big breaths. I remind them to feel the wind on their face, hear the birds, slow down, feel your dad's hand. I want to really ground you before that time. And I'm going to have her open her eyes and look at me and tell me I'm ready. And when she says that, I can hit my walkie if DJ can't see us
Right.
and be able to cue that. So that's something that only a planner can do.
Yeah, and that's
mean,
perfect.
walkie.
I mean, and that's really what we would need is I always ask for give me the thumbs up, or like the whatever the sign is, right? Like to hit the music.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just communicate,
Communicates the answer.
I like having, like, we have walkies, so, like, us just bringing some and having them. Like,
They're
hey,
so
you need a
nice.
walkie just in case, like, just for that exact moment.
I love a walkie.
Yeah, I like to attend the rehearsal. I think it does give people kind of peace of mind to see the DJ there. You get to meet them. A lot of times we're doing a lot of stuff on Zoom.
Sure.
So this is sometimes the first time to interact with the family, meet with them.
Yeah.
I find it really effective if there's like announcements, if there's extra stuff happening during the ceremony.
Just to make sure.
If who's passing the mic, where's the mic gonna end up, and all of those little things. But other than that, you got it right on the head. It's just basic music timing. It's nothing crazy. If I have a bride who's like, I want the lyrics to hit right when I get to the end of the stairs. Okay, I'm
Yes.
probably gonna go. I'd like to time it out just so I can. Like
Agreed.
that's where it gets tricky.
it's
But
a
we're in a lot of the same spaces too. Like La Fonda. I know the distance, and so if you want, it's like a Hercules.
Time it perfectly.
Yeah, you're very familiar with a lot of these spaces. Whereas like a barn at like Blame Her Ranch, it's so much harder to time that out.
Yeah.
All right, this is a good point for us to hit the pause button because Meredith is about to tell an amazing story right here of something that happened recently at an event. But this is a really long episode and we have to divide it up into 2 parts. So make sure to tune in because we have even more incredible insights coming your way and we're going to continue answering those awesome questions from Ask a Planner Monday with Meredith. Thanks for listening and we will see you guys here in the next episode. Stay tuned.